The massive alien ship appeared without warning, casting a shadow over New York City that stretched for miles. Its metallic surface gleamed in the morning sun, covered in strange markings that seemed to pulse with an inner light. On Earth, millions stood frozen, staring at their phones and screens as news channels broadcasted the arrival. Admiral James White stood on the bridge of the U.S. Roosevelt, his weathered face reflecting the tension of the moment. The world's military forces had assembled in record time, but against a ship that size, he wondered if they stood a chance. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," reported Lieutenant Tom Baker, his fingers dancing across the control panel. "They're requesting a meeting with Earth's leaders." The United Nations Security Council convened within hours. Representatives from major world powers gathered in an emergency session, their faces grim as they discussed their response. They decided to send a delegation, a mix of military and civilian leaders who would meet the aliens at a neutral location. The meeting point was set, a military base in Switzerland. As the alien shuttle descended, Admiral White couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The delegation that emerged from the craft walked with an air of superiority that made his skin crawl. The alien leader, who introduced himself as High Commander, stood nearly 8 feet tall. His blue-tinted skin and 4 eyes might have been intimidating, if not for the obvious disdain in his expression. "We represent the Galactic Council," the High Commander announced through a translator device. "We have come to offer Earth a position within our Grand Alliance." The human delegation listened as the aliens outlined their offer. Earth would surrender its military forces, accept Council guidance, and in return receive access to advanced technology. The terms were clear. It wasn't an offer of alliance, but of submission. Admiral White noticed the subtle positioning of the alien guards, the way they were slowly surrounding the human delegation. His years of combat experience screamed danger. The High Commander's next words confirmed his fears. "Of course, refusal is not an option. The Council has spoken." What happened next would be remembered in history books as humanity's first victory against alien aggression. As the alien guards reached for their weapons, Admiral White pressed a hidden button on his watch. Instantly, the ground beneath them erupted with hidden defensive systems. Energy shields, developed in secret by Earth's best scientists, sprang to life around the human delegation. The aliens' weapons proved useless against the barrier, their shots dissolving harmlessly against it. "You really should have done your homework," Admiral White said calmly, as Earth's hidden defense grid activated. Massive cannons emerged from underground bunkers, targeting the alien shuttle and the massive ship in orbit. The High Commander's 4 eyes widened in shock. "Impossible. Your species is primitive. You shouldn't have this technology." Primitive. Admiral White allowed himself a small smile. "We've been preparing for this day since we first looked at the stars. Did you think all those science fiction movies were just entertainment?" The alien ship in orbit tried to power up its weapons, but Earth's satellite defense network was faster. Concentrated electromagnetic pulses disabled its primary systems, leaving it dead in space. Within minutes, the alien delegation found themselves surrounded by Earth's special forces, their advanced weapons proving no match for humanity's preparation and determination. The High Commander, now a prisoner, could only watch in disbelief as his shuttle and crew were taken into custody. "The Council will not stand for this," he threatened. "Good," Admiral White replied, "because we're just getting started." As news of the victory spread across Earth, celebrations erupted in every city. But in military command centers and government offices, leaders knew this was only the beginning. The Galactic Council had made their first move, and it had failed spectacularly. Humanity had revealed only a fraction of its true capabilities. As Admiral White looked at the captured alien technology, he couldn't help but smile. The Council thought they were dealing with primitive beings, but they had just picked a fight with a species that had spent centuries preparing for this exact moment. The real war was about to begin, and Earth was ready. News of Earth's defiance spread through the galaxy like wildfire. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, Hundreds of alien representatives gathered for an emergency session. The massive hall, with its crystalline dome and floating platforms, hummed with angry voices. Grand Speaker Marcus, the head of the council and leader of the most powerful species in the galaxy, stood at the central podium. His gray, scaled skin rippled with fury as he addressed the assembly. "These humans," he spat the word like poison, "have dared to resist our rightful authority. For 10,000 years, we have maintained order in this galaxy. No primitive species has ever rejected our guidance." The chambers erupted in shouts of agreement. None of them could accept that a young species from a backwater solar system had humiliated their forces. In a secure bunker beneath the Pentagon, Earth's military leaders watched the Council's session through hacked communication channels. General Rebecca Stone, head of Earth's newly formed Galactic Defense Force, studied the alien leaders with cold calculation. "They're preparing for war," she announced to the room filled with military commanders from various nations. "But they're underestimating us again." The intelligence reports confirmed her assessment. The Council was assembling the largest invasion fleet ever seen in galactic history. 10,000 warships, each carrying enough firepower to level a city. What the Council didn't know was that humanity had been intercepting their communications for years. Earth's quantum computers had long ago cracked their encryption, and every battle plan, every strategic discussion, was being monitored. "They still think the technology we showed them was our best," General Stone said, standing before a holographic display of the galaxy. "They haven't figured out that we let their scouts observe our older military bases while keeping our advanced facilities hidden underground and on the far side of the moon." The Council's arrogance was their weakness. They believed in their natural superiority so completely that they couldn't imagine being outsmarted by primitives. In the Council chambers, Grand Speaker Marcus revealed their battle strategy. "We will crush them with overwhelming force, show them the price of defiance." The assembled representatives cheered, drunk on their own sense of superiority. None of them questioned why Earth seemed so calm in the face of their threats. Back on Earth, preparation for the coming conflict continued. Hidden shipyards in asteroid belts assembled advanced warships. Weapons platforms disguised as communication satellites moved into position. The planet's surface remained peaceful, showing no signs of the military buildup happening in secret. General Stone received a priority message from one of their deep space monitoring stations. "The Council fleet will arrive in 3 days," she announced. "They're following exactly the approach vector we predicted." "Should we reveal our orbital defenses?" asked Admiral White, who had been promoted after the first contact incident. "Not yet," General Stone replied with a grim smile. "Let them think they've caught us unprepared. The closer they get, the harder it will be for them to escape." In the Council fleet's command ship, Fleet Commander Rex studied the images of Earth. The planet looked peaceful, vulnerable. His species' pride still stung from their first defeat, and he was eager for revenge. "No signs of planetary shields," he reported to the Council. "No space fleet. They must have exhausted their defensive capabilities in the first encounter." How wrong they were. Earth's real defenses lay waiting, invisible to their sensors. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment, building technologies that the Council couldn't even imagine. As the massive alien fleet approached Earth's solar system, General Stone gave orders to maintain radio silence. "Let them come closer. Let them think their victory was assured." "They call us primitive," she said to her staff, watching the enemy fleet's approach on the holographic display. "But they forgot one important lesson from Earth's history. The most dangerous animal is the one you've backed into a corner." The Council's mistake wasn't just in attacking Earth. Their real mistake was giving humanity time to prepare their response. And soon, they would learn just how costly that mistake would be. The mood in the United Nations Emergency Chamber was tense as General Stone addressed the world's leaders. On screens around the room, the Council's massive fleet loomed closer to Earth with each passing hour. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady, "it's time to implement Operation Wolfpack. We need to make them believe we're desperate and scared." Within hours, Earth began broadcasting messages on all frequencies. Panicked pleas for mercy, offers of surrender, and desperate calls for negotiation filled the cosmic airwaves. To the approaching Council fleet, it looked like humanity had finally realized its mistake. Fleet Commander Rex watched the transmissions with satisfaction. "Look at them grovel," he said to his bridge crew. "Just like all the others before them." The Council fleet received a particular transmission that caught their attention. It showed Earth's leaders, apparently meeting in secret, discussing their limited options. The video, carefully staged and deliberately leaked, revealed Earth's supposed weakness. "Our defensive shields are failing," an actor playing a military commander reported convincingly. "We can't sustain another major battle." The Council took the bait completely. Fleet Commander Rex immediately called for a strategic meeting with his officers. "The humans are breaking. We'll accept their surrender, but under our strictest terms." Meanwhile, in a hidden facility deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, the real work continued. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly on Project Phoenix, humanity's true defensive system. The panicked transmissions were buying them the time they needed. Dr. Alex Morgan, lead scientist of Project Phoenix, monitored the final calibrations. The massive underground facility housed technology that would have seemed like magic even 10 years ago. Quantum-linked defense grids, dark matter weapons, and gravity manipulation systems stood ready. "The Council's arrogance makes them predictable," Dr. Morgan explained to General Stone during her inspection. "They believe their technology is the pinnacle of achievement. They can't detect our advances because they're not even looking for them." The Council fleet entered the solar system, their ships spreading out in a standard conquest formation. Earth's apparent submission had made them overconfident, sloppy. They didn't even notice as small, stealthy satellites tracked their every move. Fleet Commander Rex agreed to a final meeting with Earth's leaders. The Council would accept Earth's surrender, but demanded complete disarmament and the handover of all military technology. The meeting was set for the same location as the first contact, the military base in Switzerland. This time, the Council sent a larger delegation, confident in their victory. As the alien leaders strutted into the conference room, General Stone played her role perfectly. She appeared defeated, humble, exactly what the Council expected from a beaten species. "We accept your terms," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "We only ask for mercy for our people." The alien leaders exchanged smug looks. Fleet Commander Rex stepped forward, ready to dictate his demands. But something caught his eye. A slight shimmer in the air, almost unnoticeable. "What is that?" he demanded, suddenly alert. General Stone's demeanor changed instantly. The trembling voice disappeared, replaced by steel. "That, Commander, is the sound of your fleet being surrounded." In space, thousands of hidden Earth ships decloaked simultaneously, their advanced weapons trained on the Council fleet. The satellites that had been tracking them revealed their true nature: automated battle stations, armed with weapons the Council had never seen. "Impossible," Rex sputtered, his translator barely keeping up with his shocked outburst. "Your ships, they weren't there." "No," General Stone agreed with a cold smile. "They were there all along. You just couldn't see them, just like you couldn't see who we really are." The Council delegation watched in horror as their mighty fleet was caught in a web of Earth's making. They had walked right into humanity's trap, their arrogance blinding them to the truth until it was too late. The wolves had been wearing sheep's clothing, and the hunters had become the hunted. The Council delegation stood frozen as holographic displays activated around them, showing their surrounded fleet. In orbit, Earth's hidden armada had sprung its trap, enclosing the alien ships in a complex web of quantum containment fields. "Let me show you what primitive humans are truly capable of," General Stone said, pressing a button on the conference table. The room's walls became transparent, revealing massive hangars filled with advanced weaponry that had been concealed beneath the Swiss base. Fleet Commander Rex's translator crackled as he spoke. "These weapons, they're impossible. They bear similarities to Council technology, but they're far more advanced. We learned from your technology. Dr. Morgan stepped forward, holding what looked like a simple metal sphere, but we improved upon it. This device, for instance, can shut down any Council ship's power core with a single pulse. To demonstrate, Dr. Morgan activated the sphere. In orbit, one of the Council's mighty warships suddenly went dark, its engines dying without a sound. The alien leaders watched in horror as their supposedly superior technology was disabled by a device that fit in the palm of a human hand. But that's just the beginning, General Stone continued. Would you like to see our actual military technology? Not the decoys we've been showing you. At her command, massive doors opened in the Earth's moon, revealing shipyards that had been hidden from Council sensors. Ships emerged that defied the aliens' understanding. Vessels that bent light around them, weapons that manipulated gravity itself, and defense systems that could predict attacks before they happened. Quantum predictive computing, Dr. Morgan explained, enjoying the aliens' shocked expressions. While you were watching our old tanks and jets, we were developing ways to calculate every possible move you could make in battle. We've already fought this war 1,000,000 times in our simulations. Fleet Commander Rex tried to send a warning to his fleet, but found all communications blocked. Earth's quantum field had isolated every Council ship, cutting them off from each other. Your empire is built on bullying younger species, General Stone said, walking around the table. You never considered that one of them might be smarter than you. That was your fatal mistake. In orbit, Earth's ships began systematic demonstrations of their superiority. Council weapons couldn't penetrate their shields, while Earth's weapons sliced through alien defenses like paper. It wasn't a battle. It was a complete technological mismatch. We could destroy your entire fleet right now, General Stone continued. But that's not our way. Instead, we're offering you a choice. She activated another hologram, showing hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. These are all the species you've conquered and enslaved. We've already contacted many of them. They're waiting to see what happens here. The Council leaders finally understood the true scale of their predicament. Humanity hadn't just prepared to defend Earth. They had been planning to dismantle the entire Council system. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are useless. Your communications are cut off. Dr. Morgan listed off, still holding the simple sphere that had demonstrated Earth's superiority. The only reason you're still standing is because we choose to show mercy, something your Council never learned. Fleet Commander Rex, his arrogance finally broken, asked the question they all dreaded. What are your terms? General Stone smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. First, you're going to order your fleet to stand down. Then, you're going to call an emergency session of the Council. And finally, you're going to watch as we help every species you've enslaved break free from your control. The aliens had no choice but to agree. Their mighty fleet, pride of the Council, hung powerless in Earth's orbit. Their advanced technology had been surpassed by a species they had dismissed as primitive. As the Council delegation was escorted to holding cells, General Stone looked out at the stars. The galaxy was about to change forever, and humanity would lead that change. The hidden blade had struck true, and the age of Council supremacy was over. News of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy at quantum speeds. On 1,000 worlds, enslaved species watched in amazement as humanity systematically dismantled the Council's power structure. General Stone stood aboard Earth's flagship, the EFS Liberator, watching tactical displays as human forces struck key Council installations across the galaxy. Each target had been carefully chosen to cripple the Council's ability to maintain control over their subject worlds. Supply line to Sector 7 has been severed, reported Captain Mark, his fingers moving across the holographic controls. The Council's garrison there is completely cut off. The strategy was working perfectly. Instead of attacking the Council's military directly, Earth's forces were targeting their logistics network. Without supplies, the mighty Council war machine was grinding to a halt. On the planet Kepler, one of the Council's major supply hubs, The local garrison watched in horror as their orbital defenses were systematically shut down by human ships they couldn't even detect. The suppressed native population, seeing their opportunity, rose up against their oppressors. "We're receiving distress calls from 17 different council worlds," Captain Mark announced. "Their subject species are in open rebellion." General Stone nodded. This had been part of the plan all along. During the months they had pretended to be weak, Earth's stealth ships had contacted resistance movements on dozens of worlds, providing them with weapons and training. "The Council never understood basic human nature," she said to her command staff. "When you oppress people long enough, they'll always fight back. They just needed to know they could win." On the Council throne world, panic was spreading through the governmental districts. Their carefully maintained image of invincibility had been shattered. Reports were coming in of whole sectors declaring independence, protected by Earth's advanced technology. Dr. Morgan's voice came through on the command channel. "General, the quantum entanglement network is ready. We can now communicate instantly with all resistance forces across the galaxy." This was humanity's masterstroke. While the Council relied on conventional communication methods that could be blocked or intercepted, Earth had developed a network that operated outside normal spacetime. No Council force could stop the resistance movements from coordinating their attacks. The liberation of the trading hub world Centauri Prime demonstrated the effectiveness of Earth's strategy. Human ships appeared simultaneously at every strategic point in the system. Before the Council forces could react, their power cores were shut down by Dr. Morgan's devices, and their weapons were rendered useless. "Another world freed without firing a shot," Captain Mark reported with satisfaction. "The local species are already forming their own government." But not all Council forces went quietly. On some worlds, die-hard loyalists tried to maintain control through brute force. That's when they learned just how terrible humanity could be when pushed to use its full military might. Council forces on Rigel 3 are threatening to bomb civilian populations, an intelligence officer reported. General Stone's expression hardened. "Deploy the gravity lens." The Council commanders on Rigel 3 had just enough time to see a small, sleek human ship appear above their base before their entire facility was crushed by artificially generated gravitational forces. The building and everything in it was compressed to the size of a marble, while surrounding civilian areas remained completely untouched. The message was clear. Resistance was futile, but surrender would be met with mercy. As the day progressed, more and more Council supply lines fell. Their once mighty empire was being dismantled with surgical precision. Species that had been enslaved for generations were tasting freedom for the first time. "General," Captain Mark called out, "we're receiving surrender messages from Council military commanders across 3 sectors. They're requesting terms." General Stone looked at the tactical display, watching as green lights representing liberated worlds spread across the galaxy. The Council's chain of control was breaking, link by link, and a new order was emerging from the chaos. "Tell them the same thing we tell everyone," she replied. "Surrender their weapons, free their slaves, and prepare for a new age of galactic cooperation. The time of Council supremacy is over." The Grand Council chamber, once a symbol of absolute power, now echoed with the sound of panic. Emergency alarms blared as reports of falling worlds flooded in. Grand Speaker Marcus, his scaled skin now pale with fear, watched as his empire crumbled. "Our last secure trading route has been cut off," a junior counselor reported, his voice shaking. "Earth's forces have established quantum blockades around all major Council worlds." In Earth's command center, General Stone monitored the Council's desperate final hours. The mighty alien empire that had terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years was collapsing in just days. "They're trying to evacuate their leadership," Captain Mark reported, tracking multiple ships leaving the Council's capital world. "Their personal escape vessels are launching." General Stone allowed herself a small smile. Exactly as predicted. Activate Operation Endgame. Throughout the galaxy, Hidden human vessels revealed themselves around every escape route the Council had planned. Their careful preparation paid off. There was nowhere left for the Council leaders to run. Grand Speaker Marcus's personal flagship, believed to be the most advanced vessel in the Council fleet, barely made it out of orbit before finding itself surrounded by Earth ships that seemed to materialize from empty space. "Your vessel is contained," General Stone's voice broadcasted directly into their ship, bypassing all security measures. "Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." In a desperate move, Marcus ordered his ship to attempt an experimental faster-than-light jump. The engines powered up, drawing energy for the desperate escape attempt. "I wouldn't do that." Dr. Morgan's voice cut in. "We've analyzed your drive technology. You try that jump, and your ship will tear itself apart." The Council leader knew he was beaten. His mighty empire, built on the oppression of countless species, had been dismantled by the very primitives he had sought to subjugate. As Earth's forces boarded the Council vessels, they discovered databases filled with evidence of centuries of crimes. Records of genocides, enslaved populations, and stolen technologies painted a picture of corruption that spanned millennia. "Send this data to every world in the galaxy," General Stone ordered. Everyone should see what their noble council really was. The response was immediate. On thousands of worlds, the last remaining council loyalists found themselves abandoned by their own people. The truth of their leaders' atrocities destroyed any remaining support for the old regime. In the council chamber itself, the final act played out. Human forces, accompanied by representatives from liberated worlds, entered the ancient hall. The remaining council members, those who hadn't tried to flee, sat in stunned silence. By authority granted by the newly formed Galactic Liberation Alliance, General Stone announced, her voice echoing in the vast chamber, "The Galactic Council is hereby dissolved." One by one, council members were taken into custody. Species that had once cowered before them now stood tall, watching their former oppressors led away to face justice. The council's fall seemed to happen in slow motion. As each leader was arrested, centuries of fear and submission broke. Former slave species entered the chamber, tearing down the symbols of council authority that had haunted them for generations. "The data cores are secured," Dr. Morgan reported. "We have their entire historical record. Every crime, every secret, every hidden atrocity. It's all documented." In orbit above the Council world, Earth's ships maintained their vigil. The mighty fleet that had brought down an empire now ensured that justice would be served. "Send word to all liberated worlds," General Stone commanded. "The Council's reign of terror is officially over. A new age of freedom and cooperation begins today." As the last council members were led away, General Stone walked to the Grand Speaker's podium. Where once alien tyrants had proclaimed their supremacy, she now stood as a representative of the species that had broken their power. The Council's fall was complete. Their arrogance had led them to underestimate humanity, and that mistake had cost them everything. As night fell on the Council world, the lights in the Grand Chamber were dimmed for the last time, marking the end of an era of oppression and the beginning of something new. 1 year after the Council's fall, representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in the newly established Galactic Assembly on Earth. The old Council chamber, with its symbols of oppression, had been abandoned. In its place, a new hall of cooperation rose from the ground in Geneva, Switzerland. General Stone, now serving as Earth's first galactic ambassador, stood at the podium addressing the assembled species. The massive chamber, designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes, hummed with anticipation. 1 year ago, we broke the chains of an empire that thought itself eternal, she began. Today, we meet not as rulers and subjects, but as equals. The changes across the galaxy have been dramatic. With council control broken, formerly suppressed species were flourishing. Trade routes once monopolized by council interests now flowed freely, spreading prosperity across the stars. Dr. Morgan, leading the new Galactic Science Council, had overseen the sharing of advanced technology with developing worlds. But unlike the old council, Earth's policy was to teach and guide, never to control. The quantum communication network now reaches every registered world, he reported to the assembly. For the first time in galactic history, all species can communicate instantly, freely, and without fear of surveillance. Former council worlds had faced justice, but not revenge. Earth's leadership insisted on fair trials, establishing the Galactic Court of Justice to hear cases spanning centuries of oppression. "We broke the cycle of violence," Captain Mark, now Fleet Admiral, explained to a group of young officers. The temptation was there to punish entire species for their leaders' crimes, but that would have made us no better than the Council. The former Grand Speaker Marcus and his inner circle faced their judgment with the same arrogance that had led to their downfall. Yet even they received fair trials, their rights protected by the same laws they had once ignored. In the newly freed worlds, a renaissance of culture and technology bloomed. Species that had been forbidden to develop their own technology now worked alongside human scientists, contributing their unique perspectives to galactic progress. "Look at this," Dr. Morgan said excitedly, showing General Stone a new invention created by a formerly enslaved species. "Their understanding of quantum mechanics is revolutionary. We're learning as much from them as they are from us." The Galactic Assembly's first major act was to establish the Freedom Charter, a document guaranteeing basic rights to all sentient species. Earth had insisted on this foundation, remembering the lessons of their own history. "Never again will any species claim natural superiority over another," General Stone declared. As representatives, signed the historic document. "The stars belong to all of us." Earth's role had evolved from liberator to guardian. Human ships still patrolled the galaxy, but now they protected trade routes and responded to calls for aid. The feared weapons that had brought down the Council were sealed away, to be used only if another threat to galactic freedom emerged. Former Council military commanders, those who had surrendered honorably, were offered roles in the new Galactic Defense Force. Many accepted, humbled by humanity's blend of strength and mercy. "We were wrong about humans," a former Council admiral admitted during a strategic planning session. "We saw their kindness as weakness, their creativity as chaos. We never understood that these were their greatest strengths." As the first year of freedom drew to a close, celebrations erupted across the galaxy. Species that had once been mortal enemies now shared technology, culture, and friendship. The age of oppression was over. In her office overlooking the Geneva spaceport, General Stone watched ships from 100 worlds come and go freely. A report on her desk showed the latest statistics. Trade was up, conflicts were down, and technological advancement was accelerating across all sectors. "Did we do the right thing?" she asked Dr. Morgan, who had joined her at the window. He gestured at the bustling spaceport below, where beings of all species mingled peacefully. "We did the human thing," he replied. "We fought when we had to, showed mercy when we could, and always remembered that power means nothing without wisdom to guide it." The sun set on Earth, humanity's homeworld, now known across the galaxy not as the planet that destroyed an empire, but as the world that gave the galaxy its freedom. A new dawn had truly begun.